Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. Rabita continues. This process of Rabita continues until the communion between the master and the disciple is established. The disciple begins to vibrate with the tune of the master. In the past, there have been a few comments. As a matter of fact, they are inquiries. When I said it is the master who chooses the disciple, someone raised the question of free will and things like these. There is an important Sufi saying, master appears the moment disciple is ready. Master appears the moment disciple is ready. Sufi path, and for that matter all other paths, are full of such parables, anecdotes. It is said about Hazrat Ubaidullah Ahrar. Ahrar was the place where he lived. Someone has raised the question that God or the master does not go from place to place in search of the disciple. This is erroneous too. Hazrat Shah Bahauddin Naqshband Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu started initiating the people the moment he met them on the marketplace. It is the master means he has a capability to look into the talent of the people. There are many reality shows, the singing reality shows, this hunt for the talent. Doesn't these people go in search, hunting for the talent? They organize small competitions here and there, whether it is cooking, whether it is, how do they choose the participants in a particular reality show on cooking? They have small competitions from place to place. People have to participate in that. That is round one, and so on and so forth. So Hazrat Ubaidullah Ahrar, he belonged to a kingdom. His father was a king. So it happened once, he had a camel. The camel was outside, and his master came in search of him riding his camel. When the camel saw another camel, it made the sound. From that, Ubaid knew that another camel has come in. So he went and he saw it was the master. Out of ignorance or lack of awareness, the disciple is not able to see that. What criteria do you have? You can recognize only that which you have experienced. You know a table, you know a chair, you know the objects, you can recognize. You have a free will, free choice to choose this or that. If you do not have a criteria for something, then how can you choose? You do not know what a master should look like, what a master should be. It happened, a man in his youth was in search of a master. This is a Sufi parable. He was in search of a master. He decided to go in search of a master. He went, and as he was going out of his town or village, he saw a man wrapped in a blanket was sitting on a pedestal on a kind of an elevated place under the tree. So he stopped by him and asked, "How does a master look like? How will I recognize him?" And questions like these. If you are looking for something, even if it is the way you are inquire, how would I recognize? You give him the reference of a person. How would you recognize him? So your first and the foremost thing is address is given. You go at that address. You know the name of the person. When you reach, using the GPS system, you reach the address. Then you knock at the door, you inquire. They knock and someone comes out. "Can I speak to Mr. So-and-so?" He says, "I am the person." So you have the reference letter. You have a reference. Then you say, "I have been sent to you by this person." So he inquired, he tried to get the symptoms of a master. So the master said that he will be grey-haired, long beard, the back bent, and he may be sitting under the tree, wrapped up in a blanket. So he got few indicators. He continued wandering for 30 years, but he did not find anyone. Weary and tired, he returned. He was returning to his home. As he was returning home outside the village, he saw under the tree the same image that he was given 30 years back. A man with grey hair, long beard, weary, back bent, was sitting wrapped in a blanket. He recognized him. "You are the same person 30 years ago, you gave me the indicator." He said, "Yes, I gave you. I gave you because that time you trusted your words, your search, that you are capable of finding the master." And another anecdote comes in about Hazrat Imam Jafar Sadiq. Once a woman came to him and she said, this is how the ego works. "I have been to this master, that master moved from one fold to another, and each time when I moved from one place to another, I was considered as wise." You recall Mullah Nasruddin, someone changed from another religion and accepted Islamic religion. Mullah said that person got wisdom. He was stumbling in darkness. Now he is in light. He is on the path. And the opposite too happened. The man from Islamic tradition changes religion to another one, What do you say about that man, Mullah? He has fallen from paradise into hell. Now he can never find his way. This is how Mullah was. So each time she moved from one fold to another, people respected her, that probably she has got the wisdom that she moved from that fold to this, and so on and so forth. So she came to Imam Jafar Sadiq expecting the same thing. Imam Jafar told her, "Woman, go back to your home. I will send my reply in a few days' time." A few days after, an attendant from Imam Jafar reached to the doorstep of the woman, handed her a packet. The packet contained a glass bottle, clear glass bottle, with 3 layers of sand, red, black, and white, separated by the cotton wadding. And it said, there was a piece of paper on which it was written, "Woman, remove the cotton wadding and shake the bottle. This is what you have reduced to, a mass of confusion." A man came to a master. He said, "I have been traveling in search of the master. And from my criteria, I know you are the perfect master. If you are that, I accept you as my master." All this time the master was listening. When he had finished, the master said, "Yes, listen to his words." When the man said, "If you are a perfect master, from the symptoms I understand that you are the perfect master." The master said, "Yes, I am known by that name." All the while you were looking for a perfect master, the perfect master in turn was also looking for a perfect disciple. You are trying to judge me that I am a perfect master. Have you looked into, are you a disciple? There are 3 stages. The first is a student. You are full of logic. You are full of questions, questioning mind. Mind remains dominant. Mind means conditionings, the thoughts. From there, the next stage comes, you become devoted for some reason or the other. From master you become, from a student you become devotee. And then the stage comes disciple. And the moment you are not seeking the stage of disciplehood in you, are you a disciple? Disciple means one who is ready to listen. There is no logic in his mind. Because a spiritual journey is not the way of knowledge, is the way of heart. In Hindu way, there is anecdote comes in that once Narayan, the incarnation, the name for Vishnu, he narrated certain things to the wandering sage Narad, and he was to go. and narrate it to someone. So he comes to Vedavyas, who has composed many Upanishads, commentaries, but he was not at peace at his heart. So he said, he told Narad that I have composed all this, but there is no solace in my heart. He said, you had been doing all these things that were part of the mind, suluk, in Sufi terminology, the knowledge, wisdom. But you overlooked the important aspect of life, which is love. Love brings harmony. Harmony breeds love. Love is the power that knows beyond our knowings. You compose the anecdotes of Krishna dancing with milkmaids on the bank of the river Yamuna, the blue river, under the full moon night, and that will give you the solace. Then he composed Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran, which contained the part of Bhagavad Gita as well. So Sufis have a unique way of parables to say all that cannot be said in words and directly. This has been the Sufi tariqat. From earlier Sufis to Shah Bahauddin Naqshband to present day Sufis, all use parables. Sheikhs even devise their own parables and anecdotes to carry the tariqat. A certain man decided to seek the perfect master, so he read many books as you do, and you come out of your wisdom and talk to me and tell me about the free will. Someone said, I agree with all that you say, but what about the free will? You are talking about the ways and means of the world. The ways and means of the outer world differ from that of the inner world. You are moving in a totally different direction. So he read many books, visited many sheikhs, one after the other, listened to different sheikhs, practiced and argued as well, but of no avail. He always found himself doubtful of all he was doing or hearing. Also, he was unsure. Such is the situation of each one of you. Talk out of wisdom. After a long search of 20 years, he came across a sheikh whose every word and action corresponded with his idea of totally realized master. The traveler wasted no time. You, he said, seem to me to be the perfect master. If you are, then my search is over. I am indeed described by that name and quality, replied the sheikh. I am indeed described by that name and quality instead of saying that I am that. Then I beg you to accept me as your disciple, said the traveler. That, the master responded, I cannot do, because while you may desire the perfect master, but he in turn requires only the perfect disciples. We are looking for a perfect master, but not looking for whether you are a perfect disciple or not. This is the whole parable. This happens only with a real master, not with the counterfeit. The real master will come to you when you are ready. And a counterfeit will advertise for the recruitment of disciples, or a disciple will interview the master before he chooses the master. Counterfeit, in fact. The master appears only when the disciple is ready. This is not philosophical or Sufi scripture. Also, this is not the Sufi way alone. Instead, this is how it happens in the world of spiritualism. in the inner world. And this never happens in no other way, and also at no other time in man's eternal search. When the disciple is ready, the master appears. Maybe you may get a reference, maybe somehow the other. There are unique ways and means. How does a master chooses the disciples? It happened one person, he used to visit the fellow disciple of Swami Vivekananda. His name was Latuji Maharaj. He had been in his fold, and one day he asked Latuji to initiate him. Latu was not a counterfeit. So Latuji told him, your share is not with me, but the time that you have spent with me has prepared you. So he asked, how will I recognize the master? He said, you don't need to recognize, your master will recognize you. Your master will recognize you. And I am not talking about a story or something. This happened with my grandfather, Naqshbandi Brish Mohan Lal. It happened that he was told, he came in the company in the morning after taking a shower. The master will sit down on a chair and do his prayers. While he was doing, this person came in and stood in the corner. And as the master was busy with his prayers, he remained waiting for him to be finished. That much etiquette he knew. So when he finished, he tried to introduce him to the master. The master said, no, you don't need to tell me, I know you. I know you. And some of the comments for the so-called wise says that it never happens, that God goes from place to place and chooses. That is the asinine wisdom. I am speaking of my own experience. The entire chain of Sufi master Naqshbandi Sheikhs bears testimony to this. Sufis have four major paths that have emanated from Holy Prophet Hazrat Payghambar Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. These are Naqshbandiya, Sohrawardiya, Qadariya and Chishtiya. I will not go into the details of these tariqats, as these have been explained in the Leaves from the Sufi Heart, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Also, my purpose is your transformation, and for this, all that is necessary I will have to use. I am like a physician to whom health of the patient matters, not the source. Name or anything else does not matter. This is the reason that my purpose is to expose you to various paths, so that somewhere along the way you may discover the familiar splendor in an unknown face, in an unknown path. Somewhere along the path, along the way, you may discover the familiar splendor in an unknown path. And also I am here to give you the insights into each and every flower of this garden that is being nourished and nurtured by God Himself. Along the path, I will take you on a voyage into various such flowers: Socrates, Pythagoras, Heraclitus, Lao Tse, Bodhidharma, Chongsu, Krishna, Mahabir, Buddha, Ramakrishna, Aurobindo, Osho, Raman, Ram, Meera, etc. The flowers are many. Only you have to be prepared for this journey. Not that I can only Choose the orchid flowers or rose flowers, not the marigold. Each flower has its own beauty. It reflects one quality of the totality. As far as I am concerned, I am visiting this planet only for this purpose, so that a religious man can take birth out of you. In the process of growth, the disciple has to earn eyes to see the beauty. If your mind is prejudiced, you cannot see the beauty in a flower. Flowers are blossoming every moment, but if you do not have the eyes, you cannot see the beauty. Nanak says, if you have eyes, see it. If you have the ears, you hear it. But you say, I already have ears. You have ears, but you listen to only that which corresponds with your conditioning. You see only what you want to see. Flowers are blossoming every moment, but you do not have the eyes. You cannot see the beauty. The sky is filled with the stars of immense beauty, but not for you. Sun rises in immense beauty and splendor, but not for you. Unless you develop eyes, there is no beauty. So too, if there is no love in your heart overflowing, you cannot discover the beloved. Only love can discover love. Only lovers can discover beloved. Only eyes can find beauty. Only innocence of the air can find the music and melody. The world is full of people who go on searching something outside even without creating a corresponding receptivity within. Disciple refers to a state of receptivity within. And when that receptivity comes in, the other pole appears. The world is full of people who go on searching something outside even without creating a corresponding receptivity within. I have come across many such seekers who go on searching for a master and remain unaware that the disciple within is absent in them. Disciple within is one side of receptivity. Only this receptivity can attract the master. Remember, master is not an objective phenomenon. First, the master has to be something inside you. Master inside you means the disciplehood, a preparation, a thirst, an intense desire, a passion for exploring truth. In most of the people, it is lacking. And then, when such a person goes on the search for a master, he cannot find. He may come across many masters, but he will go on missing. You cannot find a master unless you are vulnerable. You cannot find a lover unless you are vulnerable, unless you have explored the love within. You cannot see a master unless a disciple is born in you. The search for the master begins with the search for being a disciple. A real seeker does not bother about searching the master. His whole concern is to give birth to a disciple in him. Being a disciple means how to be a learner, how to be open to reality. Being disciple means how to function through innocence, not out of your wisdom. Functioning out of a state of knowledge, a priori conclusion is not going to help you in the process of inward growth. When you are functioning from the state of knowledge, you will find many teachers but never a master. If you know something already or think that you know, you will only find other knower. You can only meet persons like you, a person who functions from the state of knowledge will only find many teachers and will continue to learn. Such a person will never find a master, because it is only the master that transforms. To find a master, you have to be childlike, utterly innocent, empty of conclusions, only full of passion for truth. Then suddenly you will find you need not go anywhere. The master will come to you instead. Master appears when disciple is ready. Such is the promise of God to you. Such is the promise of God to you. Master appears when disciple is ready. The existence wants you to explore your potentials, so it continues to watch your inner preparation. Seek the disciple in you first, and then the master will appear. This is one of the basic requirements for a seeker. The seeker has to be a learner. Who is a learner? Definitely not the one who is a priori conclusions. Instead, one who always functions out of innocence and awe. One should not carry any conclusions, because when you have conclusions, you cannot learn. Why? When you have conclusions, you only want a confirmation. A man came to a Buddha. Buddha was sitting with Anand. He said, I am an atheist, and I know you do not believe in God. What do you say? Buddha said, who says there is no God? There is God, and God alone, and all around there is God. Another man came and he said, I am a theist, I am a believer of God. You can tell me, what do you say? Buddha said, there is no God. How do you say that there is God alone? There is no God. Then a man came, he said, Bhagavan, I am in a state of confusion, I do not know anything. Some say there is God, some say there is no God. What is the truth? I do not know, but you are the only one who has known the truth. So please explain to me. He said, sit down and close your eyes. They remain in meditation, and after that, the man opened his eyes, bowed down to Buddha, and he said, in your company, I came to know what it is. Anand was watching all this. He said, what is this drama? The first man came and you said, there is no God. To the next one you said, there is God. So what is that? He said, the first one who came, he was an atheist and he did not believe in God. And I never talk of God, so he came to have my confirmation so that he can continue his business. He was not in search. He just wanted my confirmation that Buddha also says that there is no God, so he can continue his business. The other one was a believer in God, but not in search. He wanted my confirmation that Buddha says there is God, so that he can quote me as an authority. And the third one was innocent. He was in search, and that's why he experienced that. This is one of the basic requirements for a seeker. The seeker has to be a learner who is learner, definitely not the one who is a priori conclusions, instead one who always functions out of innocence and awe. One should not carry any conclusions, because when you have conclusions, you cannot learn. Why? When you have conclusions, you only want confirmations. And when you go to learn from anyone and something goes against your conclusions, your ego will get hurt. Then you will not be learning anything. In such a case, only your old prejudice is strengthened more. A master wants you to grow and not gather anything superfluous. The master creates situation for your potentiality to explode. If a master tells you something that agrees with you, you cannot learn. It will simply strengthen your old mind, and master cannot do this. He has to destroy the old so that the new can be born. To take away the burden of all that you have been carrying. His role is to create a space in you. When you cling to conclusions, philosophies, ideas, conclusions and prejudices, you will not meet a master. He has to destroy all these. No speculations about conclusion is needed. He is interested in real thing, not the conclusions. Iranian mystical poet Omar Khayyam says, "What shall you gain by talking about those who are drunk? No matter how much is said about anything, it will simply remain far away from reality. Reality or truth cannot be put into words. It is inexpressible. Become a disciple. Seek to be a disciple, and when you are ready, the master will appear. But the master appears in a strange ways and means sometimes. One thing is certain, master always appears. When someone is ripe, God starts coming in many ways. Master is the last visible form. God descends in. Master is the last formful experience. Beyond that, there is only formlessness. Master is the bridge between form and formlessness. Master is the last one who looks like you, talks like you, lives like you, to whom you can touch, to whom you can relate. However, he is like you plus more. Beyond him there is silence, bodilessness. An enlightened Raman used to say to his disciples, if you want to be with me, you have to unlearn. If you do not unlearn, I have nothing to give you. You are already full. Such is the situation of all the masters. Now, let me tell you a Zen story. Once a professor of philosophy went to see a Zen master, Bankei. The professor asked many questions about God, karma, incarnation, and many more. Questions after questions, the learned one continued to this, that the master said, you seem to be tired. The journey to this place was long. I can see you are sweating coming up the hill on such a hot afternoon. You wait. There is no hurry. You take rest until I make a cup of tea for you. And who knows, while drinking the tea, you may get the answer. This puzzled the learned one. People had already told him that Bankei is crazy. He became suspicious. Whether he was right in coming to this madman, he thought, how can the question be answered by drinking tea? Now he was stuck. There was no way to escape. So he thought tea is not going to harm anything. He decided to have a cup of tea and then silently escape. The master brought tea in a pot and an empty cup with a saucer. Bankei handed over the cup and the saucer to the learned one. As the professor held the cup, Bankei started pouring tea from the cup. The cup got full. The tea began to overflow in the saucer. But the master continued. Soon the saucer was also full. But Bankei did not stop. He continued to pour the tea. The learned professor shouted, are you mad or what? Can't you see the cup is full? The saucer is also full and there is no room. It cannot take any more tea. Bankei gave a hearty laugh and said, so you are intelligent. You can understand and understand well. If there is no space in the cup, we cannot pour any more tea into the cup. Is there any space in your head? I would like to pour all that I am, but there is no space. You are already full of your conditionings, beliefs and ways of rituals. This is my answer. Come again when you are empty. This is my answer, said Bankei. If you are full of knowledge, then you cannot hear. Bankei did not say he would like to tell him all he knew. Instead, he said he would like to pour all that he is. This is significant. This is how the master works. Now, let me take a Sufi parable. A Pandit, the so-called learned, used to come to a Sufi Naqshbandi Ragbar Dayal, who was my great-grandfather. But out of his ignorance that he came from a higher caste, he never bowed to this master. Bowing to any master or putting his head on the master's feet is significant. The Pandit always showed respect to the master but never bowed to the master. It was his last meeting. Maybe something was to happen. It was the last visit of the Sufi to the place where the Pandit lived. After the visit, the Sufi entered Samadhi. So when the Pandit came to see the Sufi, somehow he put his head at the feet of the master. At this, the Sufi said, Pandit, putting your head on my feet will do nothing. If you are ready to put all that is stored in there, then something can happen. The Sufi exactly meant what Bankei told the philosopher. When you bow down to a master or put your head at his feet, it is symbolic. With the passage of time, people have forgotten the real meaning. An empty tradition has remained in the hands of the people to follow. Many years after the master has entered Samadhi, the Pandit had inner preparation. He had to go to another Naqshbandi Sheikh, Brij Mohan Lal, the son of the Sufi Ragbar Dayal. Another anecdote. This I had already told you. Such are the Sufi masters. A master is not a person. Instead, master is a state of awareness, or you can say continuity. I am sharing with you my experiences and interactions with these masters and disciples. Remember, knowledge always hankers to argue. A man of knowledge is never interested in learning because ego hurts. And in learning he feels humiliated. Children can learn because there is no ego. When ego is not, capacity to learn is faster. Children learn very fast and easily. And when you have to learn same thing after 35, 40 years, it is almost impossible. What happens to human intelligence? After years of experience, the intelligence should be sharp, more than before, but it is not. Usually in the process of growth, you gather too much dust and junk. Then the functioning of the intellect no longer remains free. It gets burdened. And you feel humiliated when you have to come to someone to learn. You cannot say that I do not know. I am already, or say that I am ready to learn. The master in some cases has to create emptiness in you. This is the only way that he can transfer all that he is in you. Hindus have a scripture called Prishna Upanishad. 6 disciples approach a master. Each one of them had a question. The state of emptiness has not happened completely. The master said, I can answer any question now. I cannot answer any question now. You have to remain in my place for 1 year. And then if I feel like answering your question, I will. If I see there is no need, I will not. To understand Master's message, inner preparation is needed. Without such inner preparation, the message of the Master will not reach you. It happened in the times of Buddha. Once a philosopher Mudgalyam came to Buddha. He asked certain questions. So he asked these questions to Buddha. He had certain questions. So he asked Buddha. Buddha responded, I cannot answer any of your questions now. You have to stay here for 1 year. Thereafter, only if I feel like I will answer your questions. Maybe you will not need the answers. At this, there was another monk who was sitting nearby under the tree named Sariputta, who was sitting nearby under a tree at a distance, began to laugh and said, Mudgalyam, if you want to get the answer, get them now. Otherwise, you will never get the answers. 1 year ago, Buddha told me the same thing, and now I do not have any questions. Just remaining here, all the questions have disappeared. A master will never answer questions. Instead, he answers you, the questioning mind. In Master's presence, the questioning mind dissolves. A master can fill you only when you are empty. So the real search is not for the master. And then do not say that I have taken your free will. It is the search how to be a disciple. The greatest problem for inward journey is searching the disciple within. This is the first step. And the first step is the most difficult. Later on, I will explain the methodology to overcome this first step. When your cup is empty and you come to a master who is overflowing with God, you are filled. You do you know how does a master transfer his being? It happened, Buddha gave discourse for 40 years to almost a large crowd of monks every day. One day Buddha came with a flower in his hand. As he came, he sat in a lotus posture. Everyone was waiting for Buddha to speak, but he remained silent. And when this situation arises, many thoughts begin to float in the human mind. Such was the situation of all the monks except Mahakashyap. Mahakashyap was in a state of no mind, no thoughts, no ripples, just a pool of silence. A silence that continuously deepening. Buddha looked at Mahakashyap. Two silences merged into one another. A deeper silence, no thought is still, no words either, just merging and deepening silence. How to express this silence? So is the case with other words like fire, wood, food, sleep, rest, etc. When such is the case, the ordinary words that you can imagine, the trouble, a mystic faces. Also the direct way of saying or expressing truth is too violent, aggressive and masculine. Truth can only be narrated in an indirect way. No one can be convinced of truth. However, you can be persuaded to truth. The real master will not try to convince you of truth, but definitely he will persuade you towards truth. Parable is unique way. And it happened that Buddha handed over the flower to Mahakashyap. He said, I spoke 40 years. I spoke all that can be spoken, but that which is cannot be spoken in words. And I have transferred all that to Mahakashyap. This was the beginning of Zen Buddhism. These preludes will continue. I'll continue in tomorrow's session. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.